Combine the foolishness of the rulers with the high tax burden and the ruthless exploitation of a people. This mixture, which may seem familiar, certainly creates a dangerous scenario for any nation. In biblical times, these factors were central to the division that marked the political and spiritual history of God's chosen people. Imagine a unified country made up of 12 tribes descended from a common patriarch. It had experienced its most glorious and prosperous days, but now it faced a division that would change its history forever. For many Bible readers, there is a certain difficulty in understanding the history of Israel. They begin by following the path of the people of Israel with their great heroes, judges, prophets, and kings, such as Saul, David, and Solomon. Suddenly, they are faced with two separate kingdoms, two kings reigning at the same time, and even a kind of civil war between Israelites and Jews, living in such great hostility that they are seen as enemies. This creates confusion, especially for those who do not know the history of the divided kingdom of Israel. If you are part of this group, know that the Bible's divided kingdom refers to the period when the nation of Israel was divided into two kingdoms, the northern kingdom, known as Israel, and the kingdom of the south called Judah. In this video, you will learn about the history of the divided kingdom and understand why this division occurred. The division of the kingdom of Israel occurred after the death of King Solomon in 930. Before Christ, Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, took over the throne of Israel. At that time there was great discontent among the Israelites, especially among the northern tribes. Because of the heavy tax burden imposed by Solomon, when Rehoboam ascended the throne, he refused to meet the legitimate demands of the people and preferred to follow the advice of his young counselors. Therefore, the tribes of the north rebelled under the leadership of Jeroboam, Solomon's former official, and initially divided the nation of Israel into two parts. Rome tried to assemble an army to regain control of the newly formed northern kingdom, but God forbade military action, saying that division was under his control and part of his sovereign will. So the 10 tribes of the north joined Jeroboam and made him their king, starting the northern kingdom, often called the Kingdom of Israel. The first capital of the northern kingdom was Tirzah, then Samaria during this period. The tension began that became a great rivalry between Jews and Israelis. In its short history, the northern kingdom had 9 dynasties and 19 kings. Most of these kings disliked the Lord and ascended the throne by violent and evil means. Politically, the northern kingdom was marked by conspiracies and religiously by idolatry. Jeroboam, the first ruler of the northern kingdom, set up illegal worship centers in his territory. The political divide was legitimate, but the religious divide was wrong. The Israelites should have continued to worship in the temple in Jerusalem. The peak of idolatry in the northern kingdom occurred during the reign of King Ahab, influenced by Jezebel. During this period, God raised up the prophets Elijah and Elisha to denounce idolatry in Israel. The political, social, and religious corruption of the northern kingdom is evident in Hosea's Amos prophecy, who exemplified Israel's religious adultery through his own experience with an adulterous wife. Among the most symbolic kings of the northern kingdom, in addition to Jeroboam and Ahab, we can cite Honey, the father of Ahab, who is known for his political and military achievements, but also for his idolatry. Already anointed by God to destroy the house of Ahab, he failed to remove the golden calves. Jeroboam had established the northern kingdom, and there were 2 kings named Jeroboam, Jeroboam I and Jeroboam II, whose reign was the longest and most prosperous of the kingdom of Israel. In contrast, kings such as Zin and Salon reigned for only a few days and a month, respectively, demonstrating the instability of the kingdom. We can also mention King Gu, who was anointed by God to eliminate the house of Ahab and restore the worship of the Lord in Israel, however. He could not remove the golden calf that Jeroboam had set up first. Therefore, Gu is remembered both for his determination to eliminate Baal's followers and for his inability to completely purify Israel from idolatry, perpetuating the sin of Jeroboam. It is interesting to note that the northern kingdom had two kings named Jeroboam, which sometimes creates confusion. Jeroboam I ascended the throne of Israel more than a century before Jeroboam II. The latter had the longest and most prosperous reign in the history of Israel, reigning for 41 years. In contrast, Israel also had kings like Zin, who reigned for only a few days, and Salun, who reigned for only a month, demonstrating the instability of the kingdom, now returning to the southern kingdom, also known as the Kingdom of Judah, whose capital remained Jerusalem. Unlike the kings of Israel, who came from various dynasties, the kings of Judah were all descendants of David, with the exception of Athaliah, daughter of Ahab of Israel, who usurped the throne of Judah after the death of his son Josiah. During his reign, Athaliah attempted to wipe out the entire royal lineage of Judah by ordering the death of his own grandchildren. However, by God's grace, one of his grandchildren survived. Ensuring the continuity of David's dynasty in general, the southern kingdom had kings more committed to the Lord's will, and worship continued to be centered in Jerusalem. However, Judah also faced problems with idolatry. Prophets such as Joel, Isaiah, Micaiah, Zephaniah, Jeremiah, and Bakucha warned the kingdom about the imminent judgment due to sin. During the exile, God raised prophets like Daniel and Ezekiel, who prophesied the restoration of Judah after exile. Zacharias and Malachi developed their ministries during the reconstruction of Jerusalem by the remnants of captivity. Among the most notable kings of Judah, we can cite Asa. Known for his religious zeal, he removed foreign altars, restored the altar of the Lord. His son Jehoshaphat continued the reforms, promoting religious education and strengthening the defenses of Judah. Uzziah, also known as Arias, had a long and prosperous reign, encouraging agriculture and strengthening Judah's defenses. However, his life ended in a tragic way after trying to burn incense in the temple, a task reserved for the priests, which resulted in his suffering from leprosy. Hezekiah, remembered for his religious reforms and fidelity to God, removed the high and destroyed idols, trusting the Lord to protect Jerusalem from the siege of Sennacherib. Josiah, another notable king, stood out for restoring true worship to the Lord, implementing various religious reforms after finding the book of the law in the temple. On the other hand, Manasseh is negatively remembered for his extreme idolatry, introducing pagan practices into Judah and corrupting the temple in Jerusalem. Although he regretted it at the end of his life, his leadership contributed significantly to the fall of Jerusalem and the exile of Babylon. The history of the kingdom, divided into Israel and Judah, lasted for a short time. The northern kingdom was destroyed by the Assyrians in 721 BC, while the southern kingdom fell before the Babylonians. About a century and a half later, the last king of Judah, Chias, rebelled against Babylon. This led to the destruction of Jerusalem in 586 BC and the exile of the population. The history of the divided kingdom of Israel serves as a warning about the consequences of disobedience to God and foolish leadership. The division was marked by rebellion, idolatry, and social injustice, reflecting the political and spiritual corruption of the times. God, in his sovereignty, allowed this division to serve his purposes. The period of exile was a discipline for God's people until a faithful remnant was restored from captivity, the temple was rebuilt, and Jerusalem was rebuilt, paving the way for the coming of the Messiah. Write in the comments if you have ever known the history of the divided kingdom of Israel, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.